Okay, so we'll start with exercise 1.1. And for the first question, you have the word idea, which is both a Greek word and now an English word. And just notice the smooth breathing above the first letter, the iota. So in Greek, if a word begins with a vowel, then you have to put a breathing above it. Either a rough breathing, like a little letter C, which indicates an H sound at the beginning of the word, or a smooth breathing, like this one, which is a backward C, and that indicates no H sound at the beginning of the word. Okay, then next one we have kinema, cinema. Just notice here you have a long E, right? So the letter E in English can be expressed by either the Greek epsilon, this one in idea if it's a short E, or this one, the eta, if it's a long E. Then character, then electron, then comma, then chaos. Notice, by the way, this is a particular form of the letter sigma, the letter S in Greek, and this is called final sigma. So this is what a sigma looks like when it's the last letter of a word. Then we have diagnosis. So notice in this word you have both types of sigma. You have the normal one here, and then at the end of the word, the final sigma, which is only used when it's the last letter of a word. Then crater, then criterion, and then panther. Okay, exercise 1.2 is going from the English alphabet into the Greek alphabet. So we have drama, then basis or basis, then asthma, then dogma, then crisis, then plasma, then asbestos, then climax, then nectar, and then parenthesis. Okay. Notice, by the way, again, sometimes in English we have we use two letters for something that in Greek would be expressed using one. So, for instance, the letters TH in English are expressed as by one letter in Greek, which is the letter theta. Okay, then some more practice in exercise 1.3. By the way, this is all practice of transliteration rather than translation. So transliteration means just converting the letters from one alphabet to another, whereas translation is where you're actually converting the word to the equivalent word in the other language. Okay, so exercise 1.3, we have number 1, diploma. So notice the long O there, expressed with an omega in Greek, not an omicron, but an omega, because that's the long O. Horizon. So if you look at that little letter C shape above the first letter, horizon, that's a rough breathing, so it adds an H sound to the beginning of the word. Then isosceles, emphasis, colon, ambrosia, catastrophe, antithesis, bacteria, and metropolis. So in English we say metropolis with a short E, but in Greek that word actually has a long E, so hence the eta after the mu at the beginning. Then exercise 1.4, so we're adding in capital letters now. So we've got Zeus, we've got Theseus, Theseus, we've got Poseidon, Agamemnon, Odysseus, Hermes. Just to pause for a moment, bear in mind that in Greek, if a word begins with a capital letter that is a vowel, then the breathing doesn't go directly above it, it goes just to the left, which is what you have with, for instance, Odysseus. That's a smooth breathing to the left of the capital omicron. And then likewise in number 6, Hermes, you have a rough breathing just to the left of the first letter, which is a capital epsilon. Okay, then Aphrodite, Prometheus, Hector, Artemis, and that's it. So just bear in mind again to make the comparison. Hector, rough breathing before the epsilon because it's a capital, so that's why it goes to the left. Then similarly, smooth breathing before the letter A, the capital alpha, at the beginning of Artemis. Okay, 1.5, exercise 1.5, more of the same. So we've got Demeter, Midas, Ares, Heracles. Now notice this first letter here, it looks like an H. It looks like an English capital H. So it's tempting to think that's an H in Greek. It's not an H in Greek. In Greek, this is a capital eta. So it's a long E. The thing that makes the H sound is not that letter, it's the rough breathing to the left of it. So Heracles. The rough breathing is the H sound. The thing that looks like an English H is in fact the E sound. Heracles. Okay, then Andromache, then Athene, Hera, Persephone, Kuklops, and finally Dionysos. Now this word Dionysos in English is often written Dionysus with a U, but that's a Romanized version. The Greek version has an O as the penultimate letter, Dionysos. Just notice here, by the way, often an upsilon in Greek, it can be converted to a U in English, but it's sometimes converted to a Y instead. So Dionysus in English has a Y rather than a U. Both of those English letters, the U and the Y, are kind of derived from, if you like, the upsilon in Greek. All right, 1.6. Some of these are going Greek to English, some of them are going English to Greek, but we're still looking at transliteration rather than translation. So we have orchestra, mania, echo, aroma, analusis. Again, notice the U sound in Greek for this particular word becomes a Y in English. Automaton, skene, iris, paralusis. Again, the upsilon becomes a Y in English in this instance. And finally, genesis, which in English, of course, is pronounced Genesis. But in Greek, the gamma is always a G sound. It's a hard G. Okay, exercise 1.7. Now we are no longer doing transliteration here. We are doing translation. So we want to know the meaning of these words. And notice that the textbook, in order to help you, it sort of divides the word in half. So you've got the stem at the beginning, before the hyphen, and then after the hyphen, you have the ending. So the stem, the first bit, tells you what the action is, right? Are we talking about walking, speaking, writing, etc.? And then the ending tells you who is doing the action. So if you're struggling with the stem, then you need to look in the dictionary, right? So look at the word list at the back of the textbook. If you're struggling with the ending, then don't bother with the sort of dictionary at the end of the textbook. You need to look at the table in the textbook, the table of present tense verb endings. Okay, so if we take number 1 as an example, the stem is fair. And if you look up pharaoh in the dictionary at the back, you'll see that it means carry. Right? Pharaoh is I carry. If you chop off the omega at the end, you get fair as the stem. Right, so we know it's something to do with carrying. Then look at the second half after the hyphen. You have omen. So if you don't know what omen, who would be the subject of omen, look at the table of present tense verb endings. You will find that omen is first person plural. It means we. So pheromen means we carry. And then for the next one, you've got to do the same procedure. So look at the stem, graph. If you're not sure what that means, look it up in the back of the book and you'll see that grapho means I write. So again, chop off the omega and you've got that stem, graph. Graph means writing. something to do with writing. And then to know who's doing the writing, you need to look at the ending, the bit after the hyphen, which is EI or epsilon iota. And then if you don't know what kind of ending EI is, you need to look in the table of verb endings. You will see that EI is third person singular, so it means he or she. So if you put that together, graphe means he or she writes. And you can do the exact same thing for all of the other words in exercise 1.7. So, dioces, you singular chase. Agete, you plural lead. Foulasusi, they guard. Just a quick note on this one, by the way. You'll notice there's a letter N, or new, in brackets at the end of the word. This is often called movable new. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. Basically, if this word, the verb, comes before another word that begins with a vowel, then you have the N, right? So you put that N at the end, foulasusin. Whereas if instead this verb were the last word in the sentence or was followed by a word beginning with a consonant, then you don't use the N. So you just use foulasusi. Okay, so it would depend on the context, basically. Number 6, ekomen, we have. Treke, he or she runs. Akues, you singular here. Bainete, you plural go. And then finally, didaskomen, we teach. Okay, exercise 1.8. Now this time we're going the other direction. We're going English into Greek. So he carries. So you need to think, okay, the verb is carrying. So the stem is going to be from that verb to carry. So if you look up carry in the English to Greek dictionary at the back of the book, you will find phero. So chop off the omega and you get the stem, fair. So you can write fair, phi, epsilon, rho. Then you need the ending. And that depends on who's doing the action. Who is doing the action? Well, it's he. So look at your table for present tense verb endings and you will see that the ending for he is EI or epsilon iota. So put that together and you get fere. Okay, let's look at the second one in the same way. So we write. So again, you could look up the verb to write in the dictionary in the back of the book. You will see grapho, chop off the omega, that gives you the stem graph. And then look at the table of verb endings, present tense verb endings, and you'll find that the ending for we, the first person plural ending, is omen. So put that together, you get graphomen. Okay, then let's just whiz through the others. You singular guard, foulases. He teaches, didaske. You plural have, ekete. I hear, akuo. You singular run, trekes. They lead, agusi. And again, that has the movable new, which might, so the letter N at the end, might or might not be there, depending on the context in the sentence. We chase, diokomen. And then you plural stop, pauete. Okay, then this exercise 1.9 is much the same. So trekusin, they run, or trekusi. Didaskete, you plural teach. Baine, he or she goes. Powermen, we stop. Foulasete, you plural guard. Paues, you singular stop. Graphusi, they write. Ago, I lead. Dioke, he or she chases. And ferrete, you plural carry. And then exercise 1.10 gets a bit harder because it's now full sentences rather than just individual words. So akuo, right, that's what we've just been practicing as the verbs. So akuo means I hear. And then the object is ten boen. So ten, just like ton and ho and hair. This is a form of the definite article, so it means the. And then boen, again, if you look it up in the dictionary, boen means shout. So therefore, I hear the shout. Okay, number 2, the subject is ho angelos, which you can look up. It means the messenger. Then the verb is dioke. So dioko means I chase. And so, and then if you look at the ending ei, that's he or she. So the messenger chases, and then the object is ton doulon. And if you look up doulos in the dictionary, you'll see that it means a slave. So the messenger chases the slave. Number 3, hostratos, the army. Foulase, guards. Ton potamon, the river. So the army guards the river. Number 4, hoxenos, the stranger. Now for the verb, in this instance, you have to go to the end. Graphe, writes. And then the object is epistolen, a letter. Now we can't say the letter here, because in Greek that would require another word, the definite article, ten epistolen. If we have a epistolen on its own, it just means a letter. Number 5, hohippos, the horse. Fere, carries. Ton doulon, the slave. Then number 6, foulasomen. Foulasomen, so look at the stem, foulas, this is to do with guarding. And then look at the ending, omen, and check your present tense verb endings if you need to. So we guard, and then the object is ten komen, which means the village. So we guard the village. Number 7, didaskes, that means you teach, and then ten koren, the girl. Number 8, hodoulos, the slave. Foulase, guards. Ten poulen, the gate. And then number 9, her kore, the girl. Now this time for the verb, you have to go to the end. Fere, carries. And then the object is ten epistolen, the letter. And then finally, hodidaskalos, the teacher. Didaske, teaches. Ton doulon, the slave. Okay, then 1.11, this is much the same kind of thing. Hostrategos boulen uk eke. The general does not have a plan. So that word uk means not. And it has 3 different forms. If it is followed by a consonant, then it is just ou, O-U. If it is followed by a vowel with a smooth breathing, then it is uk with a kappa on the end, a little k. If it is followed by a vowel with a rough breathing, then it is uk with a chi at the end. Okay, number 2, hotheos ten timen eke. That means the general has honor. Now, literally, it means the general has the honor, but in English, we don't really talk about the honor, we just talk about honor. So that's how I would translate it. Then number 3, hodoulos uk akue ten phonen. The slave does not hear the voice. Then number 4, ho angelos dioke ton hippon. The messenger chases the horse. Number 5, hoxenos fere ten epistolen. The stranger carries the letter. Number 6, ten poulen ou foulases. Now you have to be careful here because the first 2 words, ten poulen, mean the gate, but they are in the accusative case. So they are the object, which means that you have to find the subject somewhere else. Specifically, you have to find it in the verb, foulases. That means you guard. So you guard, or in fact, you do not guard because of the word ou. You do not guard the gate. Then number 7, her ger ten eirenen uk eke. The land does not have peace. Now again, the Greek says the peace, ten eirenen, but in English we wouldn't say the land doesn't have the peace. We would just say the land doesn't have peace. Number 8, sumakon uk ekete. Now again, be careful here because the first word is in the accusative case. So just like in Latin, you shouldn't translate that word first. You should look for a subject, which may well be contained within the verb ending, as is the case here. So ekete is second person plural. So uk ekete, you do not have. Okay, then number 9, hodidaskalos logon ou lege. The teacher does not say a word. And notice we don't say the word here because that would be ton logon, right? Logon on its own just means a word. Then number 10, ho theos ten niken fere. The god brings victory. Again, Greek says the victory, ten niken, but in English that wouldn't sound very natural, so we would just say victory. Okay, exercise 1.12, here we go. So just like in Latin, you need to look for the subject, look for the object, look for the verb. So number 1, hostratos is the subject. The verb is at the end, bine, and then you need to then fit in the rest. Pros ton potamon. So hostratos means the army, bine means goes, and then pros means towards, and then ton potamon means the river. So the army goes towards the river. Number 2, ho theos phonen uk eke means the god does not have a voice. And again, don't translate these words in the order in which they appear. Just like in Latin, look for the subject, ho theos, then look for the verb, eke, then look for the object, phonen. Number 3, ton hippon eis ten komen ago. Again, be careful here. The first words, ton hippon, are accusative case, so they are not the subject. The subject is contained within the verb at the end, ago, because ago means I lead. So that means the subject is I. I lead the horse into the village. Then, number 4, her kore ten poulen ou foulasse. The girl does not guard the gate. Number 5, hostrategos ton straton pros ten komen age. The general leads the army towards the village. And then number 6, ton doulon pros ton potamon dioko. So that one means I chase the slave towards the river. Again, ton doulon is accusative, so don't translate that first. Have a look for a subject. Now, there isn't a word that is the subject, so you need to find the subject in the verb ending. So dioko means I chase. Number 7, hodoulos eis ton potamon treke. The slave runs into the river. Number 8, hodidaskalos didaske ten koren. The teacher teaches the girl. Number 9, ten epistolen pros ten komen fero means I carry the letter towards the village. Then ho theos pros ten gen bine. The god goes towards the land. And that brings us to exercise 1.13. This one is about derivations. So grapho gives us lots of words in English: graphite, autograph, paragraph, telegraph, graphic, and so on. Phone gives us telephone and phonetic, and very possibly others as well. Akuo, acoustic, and perhaps others. And ger, geology, geography, and so on. Last one there, I think, strategos, words like strategy in English. And then, so I've skipped on too far, exercise 1.14. Now, this is the same skill as before, but just trying to deal with almost paragraphs rather than individual sentences. So if we look at the first one, ho angelos pros ten komen treke, epistolen fere, he boule ton logon acue hostratos niken eke. So if we translate all that, the messenger runs towards the village. he is carrying a letter. The council hears the story. The army has victory. Then number 2, hoxenos ton doulon dioke, ho doulos pros ton potamon treke, ho potamos ton doulon paue, hoxenos ton doulon fulasse. So all that means the stranger chases the slave runs towards the river stops the stranger guards the slave. And then finally, number 3, ho strategos ton straton age, ho stratos prosten komen bine, ho strategos phonen acue. Notice phonen, not ten phonen, so it's a voice and not the voice. Then, ho theos logon lege, ho theos ten eirenen fere, her kome eirenen eke, ho theos timen eke. So all of that means the general leads the army goes towards the village, the general hears a voice, the god speaks a word, the god brings peace, the village has peace, the god has honor.